Good morning, everybody, and aloha. Welcome to Just Talking 24, page 60. Big 60. Um, Again, this week is motivated by a video that I saw on X. And this video, um, when I first saw it, then I investigated it a little, researched it. It's actually a take off of a prank that was a spoof that it showed a person picking up a baby by its ear, and what they don't show you is that it's a Photoshop kind of thing. But it was a scene, and it was a stage scene. You could tell because the characters are in center screen. See, if it's a candid video, you're not gonna take the time to center everything. You're just gonna get the scene, right? You're just gonna point your camera or whatever at it. But if it's a manufactured or setup scene, you can have your characters in the center of the screen. Like me, I'm sort of in the center of the screen, right? Okay, this is set up. And there was this young child, toddler. Maybe she was maybe 3, 4 years old, and a baby next to her. And this uncle came over. I think he's an uncle, an older gentleman, and he picked the baby up by his ear. And the father just took the baby away and shushed him off. And then he reaches down, he picks up the girl and picks her up by the ear. And I said, and you know me, I'm a devil's advocate. I'm an a-hole, right? Okay. And so just to make trouble, and I just wanted to what they call palu the water, throw the bait out in the water, see what bites. And I just said, well, this is discipline. OMG, folks, you should see the comments that I got back. About that I am an a-hole, and and that's not discipline and everything. But then I started to think, what is discipline? Really, we use that word. It's almost like discriminate, right? When we say discipline, it's for punishment only. But is it for punishment? No, it is punishment, okay, in one sense of the word. But it's basically to teach you. It's a like Pavlov's dog, you get the bell, right? And then they got the reinforcement. Yeah, it's a reinforcement for behavior. Bottom line is to control you. It teaches you, we use it all the time. You got to use self discipline. You have to be disciplined. In other words, you got to control yourself, control your temper, control your desires, control discipline. That's what it takes. Um, and the kids today, they don't seem to have it. You know, I saw this other clip, and I don't know if it was for real or not. I haven't checked it out, but it was at a school, and this student was yelling at an I think he was a security officer because he had a white shirt and he had a patch on his shoulder. And I guess skateboards are not allowed in the schools. And he said something and he pointed something. You can't hear what he's saying. And he was going to ride his skateboard out of the school. Now, there are like 8 steps to go into the school. This school is 8 steps up. He's gonna ride his skateboard out. So he rode the skateboard as he was passing the security guard. Security guard stepped on the skateboard, and this kid went head first down, down the stairs. And the question is, well, who's at fault? Well, first we gotta say what was the fault. Was the fault the kid openly disregarded the rules and totally defied the security guard's orders? Or was the fault security guard, he can't touch the kid, and he didn't. He did not touch the child. He touched the skateboard. Okay. But what do you do when these kids do this? You can't let them run amok. And which is what's happening all around, the United States today. People just running amok, 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 like hocus pocus. And it just without you know, without any kind of restraint, without any kind of discipline. And you lose the discipline, you lose organization. You lose organization, you lose the society. So you do have to have some kind of discipline. We have the Constitution. Everybody quotes the Constitution, but nobody follows it. Really, they use it to run amok. They use it to show no discipline. They use it, and they say it's our constitutional right. No, it's not. If you do it orderly, yes, it is. If you follow all the rules, yes, it is. But don't say, I know my rights and that makes it okay. I see that on a lot of these videos where they stop the car for a traffic thing, especially these sovereign citizens, where um, they're posting, they're quoting maritime law. If you know what maritime only means the ocean. This is this is back when we had the whaling boats and everything. A lot of our commerce was done on boats. So they had maritime law. Maritime is on the ocean. Well, where are you? You're on a road. You're on land. Maritime has no jurisdiction there. They're asking for jurisdiction. They want proof of jurisdiction. All the judge has to say is, what proof do you require? No actual proof. What would be proof to you of jurisdiction? If you want it in written, I'll show you written. The Constitution gives it to the court. The Constitution broke the government up into three branches, right? You have the legislative, Congress. You got the executive, Mr. President, and you got the judicial. Well, that judicial branch is the courts. That's what gives them jurisdiction. But I noticed they don't use that argument. I don't know. Maybe my simple thinking is too simple, and maybe it's wrong. But to me, that's the jurisdiction, the Constitution itself. The very thing that they don't want to. They say maritime law. Maritime law appears nowhere in the United States Constitution. It appears in Old English law, and it has its own, in its own time. It was effective and it was needed. But maritime law holds no water now. But these sovereign groups are doing it, and they're not winning. They're not winning, but they're wasting time. Total waste of time. And the policemen, the videos that I see, and these are the body videos, the body cams. Um, they're getting shorter and shorter time with these sovereign citizens. For number one thing, they think they don't need license. They don't have to, because they're not driving. They're traveling. No, if you're operating a vehicle, you're driving. Okay, and that's just the way it goes in this country. You don't like it, walk. That's traveling. Traveling is just to convey your person or things from one area to the next. That the movement is called traveling. So yeah, you can move. You don't need a vehicle. You can do it by footmobile. That's no problem. But these policemen, at least they're getting shorter and shorter. I see them in seconds. Once they give me, can I see your license, please? And you have to physically surrender your license. It says that, I mean, well, I don't know about other states, but in Hawaii, you have to, if requested to, you must physically surrender your license. Exhibit means to physically surrender. The police officer has to look at the license to ascertain if the license is valid, if it's even a real license. Because so many of these people, fake IDs, but they don't see that. And I don't know, really don't know why. They just want to be, maybe they're like me and they just want to be pains in the butt and just make trouble. But my trouble, I don't see it as very destructive. When I pollute the water and I say, well, that was just discipline, and I'm just putting it out there, okay? Um, Yeah, the thing they picked up, that's a stage thing, you know. And then Papa, well, Uncle, whatever he was, had a beer in his hand, and he shows the beer in the hand, really. So tell me it wasn't scripted, but it was just fun to see it, to see that. And you get a lot of that on X. And so I got tired of seeing the BS. And so I just comment, and every so often, not every time, a lot of times I'll use sarcasm. But once in a while, I just want to test the waters. I want to see what kind of people are really watching, not only X, but watching me. Because you have followers, people follow you. And these people got nothing better to do, really. Oh, sad. But yeah, that's discipline. Um, we're going to show some as a nation with this Iran thing. Um, Donald Trump, he's he's talking, but you know he only has so much patience, especially with this the Islam's. I don't know what it is. It's like, oh yeah, um, we mean no harm. We mean only peace, and then they come in and they try to control everything. It's what they're doing. It's what's happening. They're saying the road is against us. Yes, because look at the way you act. That's how you act is how you should you're gonna get treated. Japan kicking them out, which is their right. America should have. Um, but we just let them go, and the more you give, the more they want. They take, they keep taking, keep taking, keep taking. Well, you gotta draw a line in the sand. You gotta draw the line. And now, now that we have, what I call an administration with cojones, they're drawing line and it's starting to move back, and people are fighting back on it. Why? Because they want the control. The party that was in power, they're losing a lot of control, and we're showing them that yeah, the emperor doesn't have any clothes on, and they don't like it because without clothes, and now the truth is coming out, they're kind of ugly. Yeah, it's not a pleasant sight, folks. History's going to look back at this and they're going to scratch their heads. But then we scratch our heads about almost any, society that fell down. Why did that happen? Like the Roman, right? Because of Caesar, and then the Romans just fell apart. And today, they're Italians. They're not Romans. Genghis Khan, after he died, his kids couldn't keep it up, even though Genghis Khan had a lot of daughters, and he married the daughters out, all around the world, all around his area, his territory. They couldn't get together because they're not the father. And I keep saying this all the time. The um, Once the leader dies, unless the leader coming up is well trained with discipline, it's not going to work. It's going to fall apart. It's sad. It is. Look at Walmart. Walmart, although they're still very big, they're losing it too. I mean, the family has turned it over to a corporation because the family they never grew up with Sam Alton's ideas, with his they just grew up with the money. With I and I don't know how to handle that kind of money. I've you know I've dreamt about it, I guess, growing up, and as you get older, um, Elon Musk is a trillionaire. The only trillionaire, the last person that almost made $1 trillion was Rhodes, Cecil B. Rhodes, with the De Beers diamond mines and all that. Yeah, in fact, Rhodes Scholarship still goes on today. But he was the last person I know that was almost a trillionaire. The Saudi family, they are trillionaires, but that's collectively. No one person, it owns everything. It's owned among the family. So for Elon Musk to make $1 trillion, that's saying something. That's That's just money. What do I? You know, it's like it's like when you get into cold weather. Once you pass -10, what does it matter? You know, in Hawaii, it's like once you pass 70, what does it matter? It's all relative. It's all relative. Oh, sorry for blaring out, but I'm trying a different. I thought my interface died, and it wasn't my interface. Anybody ever heard of a charging block? One by one, the ports start dying. Well, that's what I'm experiencing right here. I have these USB, those five chargers, and my outlets on the bottom are wearing out. I mean, I don't know why. I rarely use them, but it's just it's cheap. Well, you get what you pay for, and I gotta go look for a really good one. But see, the thing is, the more you pay, it's the more power. It's 200 watt. I don't need 200 watt. Yeah, I really don't, because I don't need the USB Cs. I just need the USB As, and I need very reliable USB As. So I'm gonna be doing some reconfiguration after this. Believe me. But yeah, be having discipline. It takes a lot of discipline. It's a word unto itself. And we have to you got to draw the line. Discipline is knowing when to draw the line too. You can't just let you know every all the kids doing what they want to do. I saw one text or one post where this mother got her kids PlayStation and the controllers and his phone, and she was throwing them on the ground, saying you're so spoiled and everything. Who spoiled them, right? A lot of times when you point a finger, three pointing back at you. So I just wrote down, it's not the symptoms. So she handled the symptoms, but you gotta look at the cause. I don't know if they're gonna figure that out. A lot of times it's you. It's I you gotta take the blame, and that's discipline. Discipline is you take the blame. You don't take all the blame. When the blame is somebody else's, hey, feel free to take it. But if it's my fault, like that post, yeah, that post was my fault, but I did it. Oops, sorry. Oh, this this mic. But yeah, the it's my fault because I did it, but I did it intentionally, and I'm so glad I did, because the people there, you guys show me that you guys are still my theory is still going strong. You just reinforcing my theory. Um, and I don't know what I'm gonna do when I do these things. I don't know what the results are gonna be. I kind of expect it, but I don't. Like next week, and you want to watch next week, because next week unless something comes up like the Iran, we go to war or something like that. Something really major comes up. Um, I'll be talking about aliens, the little green people. Yeah, be talking about them, and I'm gonna try to make sense of how I see where they fit in this complex plan of minds. I know, and it's a lot of people gonna say, "Huh?" I said, "Yeah," but yeah, watch next week. Next week is gonna be more fun. This week you just gotta be disciplined to watch, okay? And then please be disciplined to tell your friends, and please be disciplined enough to leave me some comments. Don't have to be questions, but give me some, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing right? What am I doing? Period. I like that the communication. I like the communication. I wish it could be in person. I really do. But my living room ain't that big. You know. And then if you know me where I live, stop by. I'll be working outside in my garage. maybe next week or the week after. I'm gonna make a storage shed. Yeah, I'm gonna store my junk in there, so you can break in and steal my junk, please. They don't have to. I don't have to call that junk place that they come and just take it away. Hey, they charge some bucks for that, man. Yeah, my nephew downstairs, he had, we have a garage and he had crap in there, and he wanted to take away, and he paid something like $780, you know, and it's just one flatbed with side walls, and they just threw everything inside and they left, and took them like not even a half hour to load it up. I told him, what you paid? He goes, oh, 780. I told him, you crazy? Why don't you just rent one truck and take it down to the dump yourself? Convenience, yeah. Rather pay for the convenience. Got junk, I think it's called. Got junk. Um, but yeah. But like I said, they don't. This is the new generation. They rather just pay for everything instead of doing it themselves. You know, I'm from the old generation. We do it ourselves. That way we learn. And we're going to make mistakes like this audio setup that I have. If you understand audio, okay, this is how it works. I have three microphones, okay? A dynamic, a condenser, and a mini condenser, okay? Um, my dynamic is this one, and it goes into a booster, okay? The two condensers, one is a XLR, the other one is a 3.5. Okay, this is all technical stuff, okay? If you don't understand it, don't worry about it. Anyway, I hook it up to a single plug, okay? That plug goes into a selector. Wait, I take that back. I hook it up to the selector. Then I hook that up into a single plug. The selector, I get to select which mic to use. The selector goes to a preamp. The preamp is a magnifier. It magnifies the sound. Okay? Normally that'll be enough, but from that preamp, I go into an interface. The interface has to take the sound, turn it uh, a digital sound to an analog. Duh. That's just again technical stuff. From that interface, it goes into an attenuator. What the attenuator does is it brings the sound back down to make it mellow. Okay, because coming out of that interface, it's a very what they call a hot sound. It goes into an attenuator. The attenuator is an XLR. It's a different type of connection. It plugs into another box. From that box, it goes into my camera. Yeah, a lot of people say it's overkill, but to turn everything on, two switches, two little slide switches, everything turns on and everything works. And I may have to adjust the amount of feed I give to the camera. And that I have a monitor here with a gauge, and I can see the gauge doing. That's why sometimes I know particularly on today's one, I've hit the mic or I screamed too much. That's why you saw me going back a little bit. Yeah, because I'm in the red. I'm screwing it up, but that's all right. That's just I have to just learn not to scream. If I'm gonna scream, then I will not use this. This mic is very sensitive. I'll use another mic. I'll use my little mini one and put it 4 feet away. But haven't had to do that because I haven't had to scream. But yeah, that's my sound system. Sounds really complicated, but I learned all of that. See, you can learn. You gotta have the discipline. You gotta tell yourself you can learn it, and you learn it. Um, if you don't do it, either you're a cruiser, a lot of people are, or you are starting to show signs of dementia. See, that's one of my biggest phobias. My dad had dementia. My grandmother, his mother, didn't, although she had a psychotic episode. She had a psychological breakdown, but it wasn't dementia. My dad had dementia, and out of the seven boys, three had it. Yeah. So it is genetic. It runs in the family, and so that's one of my biggest phobias. That and what my name means. My name means crooked nose. I learned that in the third grade. You know how phobic I am of this nose, to have it. You can just see it being broken and smashed, and that's been a phobia of mine. We all have phobias. We all have fears. I cannot tell you all of my fears because then, you'll be putting the spiders in my lunch. So, am I afraid of spiders, or am I afraid of eating spiders for lunch? Think about it. But anyway, yeah. So the phobia I have is I keep my mind going. I want to keep my mind going. My doctor, who was my dad's doctor, who was my grandmother's doctor, he treated specifically geriatrics, older folks, and he was an authority on dementia and Alzheimer's. The ironic part was he himself came down with it, and he passed away because he said that he didn't want to be, prolonged. He didn't want his life prolonged once his mind was gone. Because, he was very smart. He was really, Dr. Uto is unreal. His name was Glenn Uto, and very compassionate. Um, the nurses used to tell me, "Oh yeah, the old time nurses said, yeah, Uto started as a CNA. While he was going to medical school, he was working part time as a certified nursing assistant, a nurse's aide. He really he would take all the time he needed with you. That's why when I made appointments for my dad, I would make it with his assistant. But Doctor Uto said no. I'll take care of your dad. And sometimes like this was before, well, we had handy van, but before the private transport services, there was one called handy cab that I use, and you call them up, they come pick you up, they drop you off, and then when you finish, you call them, and they usually, hopefully, they're in the area. If not, sometimes they tell you you gotta wait. You're gonna have to wait, and sometimes we go there for a 1 o'clock appointment, and my dad wouldn't get in until 4 o'clock, and it was fine because I knew that Dr. Uto would was taking he takes care of everything. He makes sure that you understand everything that was going on. And even though my dad's one was really fast, just waiting to get there. And the other people, um, they just took time. That's all it is. So when after my dad passed away, I went to see him, and I went to see his assistant. And several times they would say, "Cam, can you reschedule because we're running that late?" You cannot find doctors like that anymore. Um, my doctor now, if I have a 9:30 appointment, by 9:45, I'm in there. By 10 o'clock, I'm out of there. You know, it's different, yes, but you gotta have the discipline to know the system. Learn the system, be self-disciplined, and once in a while, you gotta discipline when. And it's not abuse. If you do it for no reason, yeah, that's abuse. But if there is a reason, and you're not permanently disfiguring or injuring the child, that's, to me, that's discipline. It's just a physical reinforcement for behavior that you want. That's all discipline is. But anyway, thank you very much for staying with me. I hope your Valentine's Day was good. Remember, next week's gonna be about aliens. That's gonna be fun. I'm gonna try and get that in one 30-minute thing. It's kind of complicated and kind of out there, but I think you guys are worth it. I want to start it this. I want to start it this year like that. So please subscribe, tell your friends, because I need the algorithms. I need the numbers. That's how this whole system works. And until next week, I just want to say ahui ho, malama pono. And always from me to you, aloha. See you next week. Have a good week and be disciplined, yeah? Bye bye.